Hey, Tommy from the Run Testers. I am down at Battersea Park today doing the Runthrough Battersea Park half marathon. It's been 2 months since Berlin. My training has gone down a bit. I did want to get a sub 120 in this race a while ago when I was planning out my training, but I don't think I'm going to get it today. I've definitely not done the training for it, but it's a pretty nice day. It's quite windy, but it's in the park, so there's lots of trees, so it's a good day for it. I'm going to be testing out the Hoka Rocket X2s because I've never used those for a half marathon. Right, let's get set up and do the race. So that's done. Didn't get a PB. It's pretty tough out there today. There was a lot of people, and I'm definitely not as fit as I was 2 months ago when I did Berlin. So I think I got about 1 hour 24 minutes. It's pretty wet here. It's raining, so I'm gonna record the rest of this at home. See you in a bit. So I'm back now in the warm from the Runthrough Battersea half marathon, and it was a tough one. I used to do run-throughs all the time. I used to live in London and I used to have a season pass, so I used to do like 3 run-through races a week. I did more races than I did training a few years ago. But back in those days, there weren't really many half marathons that Runthrough organised, so I mainly did 10Ks and 5Ks. The Battersea half marathon is an interesting race because it is 9 laps of Battersea Park, which I'm not a big fan of laps normally, unless I'm training and I'm trying to do a consistent pace. So 9 laps of Battersea Park was a pretty tough mental struggle to do. The weather wasn't too bad when we started. It wasn't too cold, and it was pretty nice, to be honest. Battersea Park is obviously lined with trees, so even when it's windy, it's really protected from the wind. And today it was absolutely perfect. Problem with today's race was that there were a lot of people doing it. So when you're doing 9 laps of a 2.5k course, I think there's about 1,100, maybe 1,200 people doing the race. When you're coming around doing lots of laps, you tend to catch up with a lot of people that are running in the sort of slow groups. And what I found is that there were quite big groups of people that were really hard to get past. So it wasn't an ideal day for running fast, but that wasn't the only reason that I didn't have a great time out there. I was pretty much in great condition for Berlin. I was doing my perfect training. I got my 2:53 marathon in Berlin. 2 weeks later, I did a 10k race and I got 37:33, which is a PB by about 35 seconds for me. So I was in pretty good shape then. Since then, I've sort of gone downhill a bit. I have done Aberdeen Marathon, but I kind of jogged it. And I've not really been keeping up with my speed training. So in today's race, when I signed up a while back, I planned to do a sub 120 today, and I didn't manage that. I managed a 125, largely because I've lost the fitness, but I did find that 9 lap course quite hard mentally to deal with. I'm the sort of runner that I quite like doing half marathons in cities and things like that, where you're sort of going around different places all the time and there's a new road to go on. It's a bit more exciting. Whereas this one, it's really, you've got to get in the right headspace for it. You've got to knuckle down and just go for it if you're going for a fast time. It is a good one if the laps really do help you time your pace, so you can really start planning how fast you're going based on the laps that you're doing and retain a consistent pace as well. There's also no sharp turns or anything like that. It's basically a circle, so it's really easy to maintain a consistent pace around there as long as there's not loads of people in the way. I spoke to a guy afterwards who said that he did it a while back and there was only a couple of hundred people doing it and it was the perfect conditions for a fast race. So just bear that in mind. It is definitely a fast course. It's definitely a really good one if you want to get a PB, but it can get busy. The weather was fine up until about the last 5 kilometers for me, where it started to rain a bit. Wasn't too bad, perfect timing for it, so I didn't mind a bit of rain then. I was struggling a bit, and a bit of cool water on the face didn't hurt at all. But Organisation was really good. Marshals were great. There's a water station on every lap in the same position. It works out quite well from an organisational point of view because you basically just set everything up at the start of the race. And the crowds are good as well. There were a lot of people there cheering. So enjoyable day, but I didn't get a time I wanted. So I think next year I'm going to try and go for that sub 1:20 half marathon. Probably try and time it a little bit closer to after Boston Marathon, where I'm going to hopefully be quite fit and try and get some faster times in after that. But at the moment, I am not in peak fitness, so it was a bit of a tough one. As with all run-through races, there's lots of stuff you get as well. So after you finish the race, there are loads of snacks and drinks and things like that. It's really good for stuff like that. It's also very quick and easy as well. The good thing about run-through races is that, unlike some of the big races that you do where you have to get there quite early, there's a lot of wandering around, putting your bags away, queuing up for things. None of that at a run-through event. It's very quick. You just get there, get your bib, drop your bag off, and you're done. So you don't really need to get there really early. You can get there quite late on. There were a lot of races that I used to do where I just turned up about 5 minutes before and just set off. So really good race if you just want to get there, get it done, and get out of there. Oh yeah, and you get a nice medal as well. So always a big fan of the run-through medals. Very nice indeed. Okay, so the kit I was testing today was the Hoka Rocket X2. Now I know it's not a new shoe, but I've never used the Hoka Rocket X2 for a half marathon race. I've only used it for 10k distance. And I think what I said in some of the reviews that we did early on for this shoe is that because this is a bit of a leaner shoe, I like a lot of cushioning. I'm a big fan of things like the Alpha Fly and the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3. I said I wouldn't want to go up maybe further than half marathon distance in this shoe just because it's a little bit too light and there's not enough padding for me. So I wanted to give it a go over half marathon distance just to see if that was indeed the case. I'm a big fan of the Hoka Rocket X2. I think it's the best race shoe that Hoka has ever made. I've used it for quite a few 5Ks and 10Ks now and found it to be a really fast, nimble, poppy shoe that just works really well. Just feels very light on the feet. It's a really great shoe, but as I say, I didn't think it would work for me at half marathon distance and definitely not marathon distance. So what I found over the course of that run is that it was what I expected. It didn't feel very cushioned, especially in the later kilometres of that race. It felt very fast. I definitely could maintain a really nice, quick pace for the first 10k, which I got almost close to my 10k PB time in the half marathon. Probably shouldn't have. Probably should have paced it a bit better. But it is a very fast shoe and does feel really good. But what I would say is that it doesn't feel like it does a lot for me. I really like the feel of something like the Alpha Fly, where you can just feel your that ZoomX phone squishing as you're running in it, and it gives you that bounce back as well. Also feels really padded on the feet, so it's very comfortable to run in when you're doing longer distance races. Vaporfly 3 is quite similar. It's a little bit softer now, definitely softer than the Hoka Rocket X2. So I definitely felt that during that race, I just needed a little bit more padding, a bit more cushioning in the latter stages of it. It wasn't a bad test for the shoe. It's definitely one of the top carbon plate races I've got for racing in, and I don't think it's a bad half marathon shoe at all. Just for me, I think it's lacking a little bit of that padding and bounce that I like to have from my carbon plate shoes. Other thing I would say about it is that I did glue. I've had a bit of a major issue recently where I keep ripping off the outsole of shoes, and this one came off after the first 10k I did in it. I glued it on with some special shoe glue, and it worked quite well over shorter distances. So it held on quite well when I was doing 5Ks and 10Ks, like interval sessions and stuff like that. Half marathon, I could feel it coming off at about 12k, 13k. It just fell on the ground. I could feel it slapping. So yeah, don't know what's going on with my running at the moment, but I've definitely got an issue with some sort of heel scraping across the floor, which is causing a bit of an issue, especially with these expensive shoes. So I would say that I was pretty impressed with the Hoka Rocket X2 over that distance. And I think for some people it would be absolutely fantastic. I know some of the other run testers are big fans of this shoe, even for longer distances. But for me, and if you like lots of padding and bounce and ZoomX foam and that sort of thing, it may just be a little bit lean for you. But other than that, it did feel really, really fast. So that's it from my Battersea Park half marathon. Not the most successful race I've done for a while, but definitely a bit of an eye-opener in terms of the training that I need to be doing. I will be heading back down to track tomorrow night to pick up my speed training again, because there's a few races I've got coming up in the new year that I want to try and get a PB at. But other than that, well-organised race, just a little bit busy for me and really struggled with those laps. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.